I would like to call to order real estate committee meeting for June 16, 2020. Ms. Vaughn, would you please make the roll call?
Ms. Henry,
Present.
Ms. Johnson, Mr. Watson,
Yes.
Dr. Borchardt,
Present.
Mr. Marston,
Present.
Mr. Heights.
Present.
Have a quorum.
Next, I would like to get a motion for approval of minutes from March 24th, 2025.
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Ms. Vaughn?
Ms. Henry,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Watson,
Yes.
Dr. Borchardt,
Yes.
Mr. Marston,
Abstain.
Mr. Heights.
Abstain.
Motion approved.
Next, we have a real estate committee presentation.
While he's getting set up, good afternoon, everyone, to our board members present, our superintendent, my colleagues in the listening audience. My name is Shamika Henry, the Director of Real Estate here at St. Louis Public Schools, and today I'm going to give you a brief overview of the real estate department. Today, we're going to cover our history and our purpose, our committee structure and our meeting cadence, our standard operating procedures, and how we adhere to the Missouri Sunshine Law. Our history and our purpose. St. Louis Public Schools created our real estate department to address changing urban, demographic, and educational conditions affecting our facilities and our planning. Declining student enrollment driven by population loss, the growth of charter schools, and migration to nearby counties has led to school consolidations and a surplus of unused buildings. Moving on to our committee structure and our meeting cadence, our voting members consist of our committee chair and a board committee member. Both of those positions are appointed by the president of the board, our director of real estate, our chief operating officer, our superintendent, and our chief financial officer. For advisory and compliance, we have our chief legal officer. As of today, we meet the third Monday of each month or as needed. Those meetings can be in person, virtual, or a combination of both. And I want to skip to our decision-making flow. The director of real estate will draft our proposals and our meeting agendas. The chief operating officer will review the agenda with the superintendent. The committee will discuss and vote on action items, and then recommendations will go to the full board for final approval. Our meeting minutes are approved at each meeting from the previous meeting. We have one main standard operating procedure for real estate, and it is the sale of our school buildings and our land. This procedure was updated this year. It was a collaborative effort between myself, our director of operations, and our budget manager. You all have a copy of the full policy. And then items that will archive once we have an approved broker will be our project form and our offer templates. Those items will be absorbed by our brokerage firm. And lastly, our Sunshine Law compliance. Our open and our closed meetings are posted within our respective statutes. And then a few things that we discussed in closed session are in the bulleted list, but this is not all-inclusive. I provided each of you all with the entire statute, so you can read it at your leisure. I know that that was very short, but I will take any questions at this time.
Is there any questions for Ms. Henry?
Yeah, I have maybe a couple. Maybe this is jumping ahead into the committee structure, but it said that there are supposed to be 3 Board of Education members, I think, but right now it's just Tracy and me, I think. So I'm wondering, does the president need to appoint a 3rd person?
To my recollection, that's at the discretion of the board president, so I would have to follow up.
And then for the new standard operating procedure, just briefly, can you talk about what changed and why, like sort of what the edits were?
It didn't exist, and it was a very loose process of how we collected revenue from our sale of buildings. Nobody knew what to do when they wanted to submit an offer on a building, so we outlined that process and made it seamless for people that's interested in our real estate.
Yeah, I think that's all the questions I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? If not, I have a question. On the, I know with the information you gave, we have a few buildings that are sold,
Correct.
and we do have some that are closed, but we are still on our books. Is that something that that's on our website where the community knows, or is that something that just stays in-house?
So when the broker is approved, that's one of their first orders of business is to create and develop the website and let them know that we no longer own SOPS properties that have been sold.
Oh. Is there any more questions for Ms. Henry?
Ms. Henry, can you tell me what's the average time frame between when a building goes up for sale and when it's actually purchased?
2 years.
Looking at that process, what areas or where would you say the gaps would be? Is it on the side of the actual us as the seller, or is it on the side of the buyers, or where is the help, the obstacles?
Almost always is financing on the buyer side. They need extensions and they submit those to us, and that's what takes them most of the time is getting their financing in place.
I'm sorry, I have a couple more questions. Do we do like a RFQ process when we putting the buildings up for sale? We tell them like financing must already be secured, or how does that look? I'm just not familiar with that.
Historically, no, we didn't do an RFQ process. When we had a broker, they had their own process. When we took over, it was more of a, I'm interested, let's see what we can do to buy it. We didn't have a formal process until now, and then we're pending our broker to streamline that process for future sales.
Thank you.
One more question. Do we have a process where the school district, to a nonprofit organization, where we could donate schools to a nonprofit organization? Just for an example, if we'll say Annie Malone Children's Home, for example, and if they wanted to expand their child housing, where if they could get the necessary funding, where we could donate the school to them, because we know they wouldn't be doing it to make a profit, but they'll be doing it to house a lot of our kids that we know that are homeless. Do we have a process like that?
We don't have an official process. It's been done. We could make that recommendation in real estate, but it would have to be approved by the full board.
All right, thank you. Any more questions?
Yeah, so piggybacking on that question, when we put our buildings up for sale, are we requiring, if a developer is coming in and buying that a percentage of that building be used for like low-income housing? is there any requirements we put into the actual sale of the building?
That's not a requirement, but it is a recommendation, and 90% of the buildings we sold do have that component.
How do we ensure that is enforced?
We don't have a way right now, but our incoming broker, that's one of their tasks. It will be to make sure that they have the low-income housing portion attached to all future sales.
Thank you.
I don't have a question, I just have a statement. In order to expedite the process, instead of us having a 2-year period from beginning to end, it might be best if those who are interested in purchasing have their financing on the front end, so that it matches what the building is being sold for, so that then it then takes it off the market, it puts it in a contingency state versus us interacting and then it going nowhere when someone who is really interested in purchasing the building could come forward.
Understood.
Any more questions? Seeing none? Thank you, Ms. Henry. Now we have a community collaborative with Navigate.
To Madam President Collins Adams in her absence, to Secretary Marston, to Chair Hikes, members of the board, Dr. Millicent Boris-Shade, Superintendent of Schools, district leaders, good afternoon. It's great to be here, and it's great to be able to be here. My name is Chaz Jaquis. I am the primary point of contact for Navigate Building Solutions. This body, along with the Board of Education, hired us to be an extension as an owner's representative for the Prop Best bond issue work, which 87% of the city approved back in, I believe, 2022. Might I add, and I always do, even if you don't want to hear it, I am a proud alum of St. Louis Public Schools. I'm a public school prodigy, proud of it, and if anybody would have asked me 30 years ago if I would have been doing this, I would have lost a bet. But I would have gladly lost that bet because this is a labor of love and this is a blessing personally and professionally for me. One of the things that I learned while walking the halls of this great district is success is never an accident. It's always the result of high intention, sincere effort, and intelligent direction. And so we are here because we're intentional about paying it forward and giving back. So thank you for the opportunity. Today we want to give an update of the work we've done so far and where we're headed. And we want to talk a little bit about budget. We want to talk a little bit about the work itself. So if you would flip to the next slide, please. The agenda calls for projected schedule, project scope summary, along with the budget summary, promises made and promises kept from Proposition S, and then lastly, the upcoming summer 2025 Prop S projects. Our next slide, which this committee is no stranger to, we wanted to continue to keep this front and center on our projected schedule. I was always taught no schedule, no plan, and so this is our plan, so we want to continue to show this plan. If I may, if you may indulge me and take a minute here. On the left-hand side is the activities from auditoriums to windows. It's all inclusive of Proposition S funding. And then across from left to right from either the slide or what you have in front of you is the timeline in either summer, fall, winter, or spring intervals. Also, you will see intentional gaps in some of the work, such as roofing and windows. Those things are intentional, tuck pointing, because you can only do certain work in certain seasons. And so you see the red column, which denotes summer 2025. We recognize summer is not really official till June 21st. However, in the school year, summer, in our mind, starts after last day of school. So that's why we went ahead and intentionally put summer of 2025. So this is our projected schedule thus far. Our next slide is a summary of all of the work captured in our 2.5 years in being an extension and a partner and trusted advisor of the district. I'll go through this real quick, even though I know all of you are academians and can read. The whiteboard installations were 571 across the district. Stair treads, we touched 16 schools. Painting, 30, which is almost half of the 68 open schools. Lighting upgrades, which is LED lighting from top to bottom. Fire alarm upgrades, enhancing those devices and new panels. Exterior door replacements, making the school more secure and safe. 100 district-wide. Restroom upgrades, 45 restrooms. 6 new playgrounds, 10 resurfaced, 84 benches. 234 drinking fountains or water bottle fillers to make it safe for safe drinking. Fencing replacements. We replaced fencing at 20 open schools and 25 closed schools. We understand that the district still owns those properties, so you have to make a valiant effort in keeping it secure from the public. Flooring repairs, 18 with vinyl composition tile or VCT. CPT is carpet tile. Hardwood floors were being refinished, so it's 18, 19, and 12 respectively. Roofing, replacement, and restoration, 15 schools, and then masonry, which is tuck pointing and restoration at 6 schools. So we have been pretty busy since since our inception in the district, and so this just captures the work thus far, where we are today. If we go to our next slide, we now want to touch on what this looks like and feels like budget-wise. So there were 7 categories that the district informed the public that they would promise to touch district-wide, and they are namely the hazardous material abatement and disposal, HVAC upgrades, building infrastructure, which is your roofing and your windows, safety and security, which are things like stair treads and doors, academic performance improvements, whiteboards, interior building enhancements, which is just your painting and your flooring, your interior improvements, and then outdoor learning spaces, those playgrounds, those benches that I just mentioned in the previous slide. So these are the 7 categories, and these are the associated costs. At the total at the bottom, I want to bring to your attention that the total cost, all these costs include the professional services. So your architect firms, your design teams, your engineers. So it's not just general contracting work. So you add all those buckets up, we're north of 137 million of the 160. What does this look like in a pie graph? From the previous slide, we've captured all of that cost and encapsulated it in a pie graph. So you see the majority of the work for 40% was the HVAC upgrades, both boilers and chillers and cooling towers, even rooftop units. 22%, which is the next category, the building infrastructure, contrary to some public belief. The windows, the roofing, the building envelope is being sealed. We are addressing those, just a lot of ground to cover in a short period of time. And then so on and so forth. 16% are the interior building enhancements, 10% are the hazardous material abatement, making sure that all of those hazardous materials are removed and properly disposed of, so on and so forth. So this is what the graph looks like from those 7 categories that the district promised the public for the Proposition S bond issue. Moving to the next slide, not only are we managing the work from a construction standpoint and a design team standpoint, we're also looking at what the crews look like. You know, if we're doing this work in the city of St. Louis, it should be a reflection of who works, who lives, who plays here. And so we're capturing and managing this work as well. So to date, these are not final, these are not fast and final, but to date, out of the costs we just mentioned, north of $22 million are committed to minority business enterprises or MBE firms, and then over $8 million to women-owned business enterprises or WBEs. And you see the associated percentages. Something, again, we want to draw your attention to, these percentages are, in fact, only based off of construction contracts. They do not include the professional services. So somebody who's great in math, other than me, may look and start going back to the $137 million and then drawing attention to these committed costs. You're not going to be able to line them up, and that's because of the disparity between the professional services and the general contracting services. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And you notice I didn't even look at you, CFO Johnson. Yes, ma'am. So that covers the budget piece of this presentation. We'll move on, and I guess we'll save questions for last, but we want to take each category and just kind of show you what that looks like, just in a snapshot, in a vacuum. So whether it be school and whether the work is in progress or have been completed to date. So the promises made, promises kept. First category, hazardous material abatement and disposal, it's been district-wide. I can list all 68 open schools and even the 27 closed schools, even the 11 administration buildings, but it's absolutely district-wide. We didn't want to list all those schools and all those administration buildings, but the hazardous and environmental team have been all over the place, which is what you want. So we can vouch for that. So it's district-wide across the board, even though I just reflecting open schools, it's across the board. Our next slide is pictures to coincide with the work. There's been things such as lead removal, there's been duct cleaning, there's been restroom renovation, and even whiteboards, those pucks behind those old blackboards, I'm dating myself, that we used to use on the old chalkboards where there's hazardous material that holds that against the wall. So those have been abated, and then the new whiteboards are fresh and installed with no hazardous materials behind it. So our environmental team has been pretty busy, as you can imagine, with all the chalkboards, with all the ducts, with all the lead removal and the restrooms. Our next slide is the second category, which is HVAC upgrades. These are the list of schools that have been touched to date. There's a legend at the bottom. Any green check marks denotes that the work has been completed, and any yellow check marks means the work is in progress. Notice there's no red check marks because all work is in progress or either completed. So HVAC, these are the schools that we have touched to date, and the next slide just shows some of the schools that HVAC upgrades have taken place in Clyde C. Miller High School, Malamphy, ILC, Washington Montessori, and then Walbridge Elementary. And that is the energy performance. There's some more pictures behind that. Ashland Elementary, Dewey, Bryan Hill, and Bush Middle. So again, you can go back to the slide that shows all the schools, but we just wanted to capture some of the work and what it looks like across those schools. Our third category, moving right along, is building infrastructure. Again, that includes your roofing, your tuck pointing, your windows, et cetera. And you can see there's work still in progress. There has been work that's been completed. And our next slide shows those progress photos. Louverture is an after shot that's been completed. Lexington, the shingles have been replaced. Roosevelt, portion of that campus has been completed. Not the entire campus, but what you see here on the first level building, part of the building that's adjacent to the east parking lot. And then the next slide is more progress photos. Beaumont, which is currently in progress, but some of the work has been completed, and as well as Compton Drew, ILC. Our fourth category, safety and security. I used to work for a firm that says safety it isn't work and safety, it's only working safely. And so you can't have work without being safe. So we've translated that from our management team on down to the general contractors. And might I add, to date, there's been no lost time injuries in the district for 2.5 years. That means a lot. A lot of firms, a lot of districts, a lot of clients can't say that. So we are managing that as well. As you can see, most of that safety and security work improvements have been completed. The next slide shows some of the North Summer renovations with stair treads. Most people may say, well, stair treads is more of a cosmetic, but if you have some defrayed stair treads, that creates a safety and trip hazard. So it is a safety issue. It is a safety. As much as it might be an eyesore or cosmetic, it is a safety issue. You can see from some of the before shots, people can trip up the stairs, maybe even down. So we have Lexington before and after, Sticks before and after. In the south, moving to the next slide, we show door replacements, which has the Armor Defend product, where you might look at, say, for instance, Mason Door 5, and you say, hey, you can look right in the building, but that is a safety product that was signed off by security and safety team here in the district, along with our design team. I can assure you, even the strongest man will have trouble getting through that, and woman. I'm an equal opportunity person. So we have exterior door replacements as well as the lighting. You can see the lighting that has been installed in Shenandoah, Woodward, and Compton Drew. Window replacements. We replaced the first level windows at Central VPA along with Collegiate. You can see some before and after shots on that campus. Again, it has that Armor Defend product that gives not only a clean look, but it's a very, very safe product. Replaces those security screens that used to be up, as you can see in the pictures. You don't need them anymore. Our fifth category, academic performance improvements. All of those have been completed. Going to the slide with the pictures, you can see some of Yateman, some of Sodan, with the whiteboard replacements, as well as a refresh in the principal suites, as well as lighting. Just by osmosis, lighting is in here. So that is some of the work there. Our next slide shows some of the gym. Gymnasium is an academic category as well. Even though it might be sports, it's still classified as academics. So Metro being an academic #1 in the state and top in the country, we've refreshed even their gym, along with some others. Our sixth category, interior building enhancements. The lion's share of those schools, quite a few, have been touched. I think it shows only one, Malamphy, which we're actually looking to refinish some things at Malamphy as we speak. With the flooring, I was just over there this morning with Dr. Casper and her team. So that's the only one that will be done probably by the end of this month, and that we can check that off the list. But the pictures, I think, tell the story. Flooring, Nottingham before and after, Sumner's Auditorium, a refresh on their carpet, Next slide shows the painting, before and after for Wallbridge and Pomosia. The next slide are the restrooms at Central VPA Collegiate, along with Gateway STEM, before and after for boys and girls restrooms. The next slide are some Central VPA photos of those restrooms before and after, which we've heard a lot of compliments from the scholars as well as the staff in the restrooms. The next slide is the library at Lexington and the part of the lobby area and trophy case at Clyde C. Miller, having refreshed from the painting. So that's, again, just some snapshots of the building enhancements. And then lastly, the outdoor learning spaces. All of the work has been completed. The benches, the playgrounds, the resurfacing at all of these schools that you have in front of you. The playgrounds, before and after shots at Warner and Sticks. The next slide is Mason and Wilkerson at Rowe, ECC. And those are the 7 categories that the promise is made to the city of St. Louis and the general public, and the promise is kept by the district for Proposition S to date. Now, our last category is the summer 2025 projects, the projects that are up and coming. We are currently renovating Vashon High School auditorium, Metro, and Central. That work is ongoing, and these are just a list of things and activities that we're going to be touching for the summer. The objective is to, as close as possible to the first day of school, to be completed so that Dr. Phillips and Dr. T and Principal Reed, I believe, can have their auditoriums back to them. So this just kind of captures and capsulizes the work that's taken place. Our next slide, Gateway STEM renovations. We had a meeting last week with coordinating the environmental team and the general contractor. But this is the work that will take place for the next 12 or so months at Gateway STEM. Dr. June Berry is pretty happy with us so far, and her team and network superintendent. So we're going to have a new elevator, a couple new elevators. We're going to have a gymnasium and an esports classroom. I want to say dumb luck, but actually tomorrow, some of the facilities teams, as well as our colleagues at Cordigan, we're taking a field trip to St. Louis Community College at South County. One of our furniture vendors did an esports classroom there, and we're going there just to see what life looks like or can be imagined at Gateway STEM. So we're doing that 9 o'clock tomorrow. You're welcome to join us if you want to. The next slide is Central VPA Collegiate. We're looking to do some renovations over there at that complete campus to refresh some of the interior suites, but also add an addition on the north and the south end of the campus. And of course, some academic improvements with the dance studio, et cetera. So we're going to be busy starting this summer and beyond, as you can denote from the projected schedule that I showed you earlier in this presentation. And then the last thing we're going to do at CVPA, CSMB, is interior signage. We're going to be updating the signage, the room signage, but we're also going to be adding safety flags, which is ahead of the legislation from the state and the city on premise identification, whether it be window, whether it be hallway, and all of this is for first responders. And I think this committee understands why we're starting with Central VPA and Collegiate. I don't need to go down the path, but we're going to refresh that this summer. This concludes my exhaustive part of the presentation. Now we'll open up the floor for Q&A.
Anyone have any questions for Navigate?
Hi, I do. Can we start back on looking at the project schedule?
Yes, ma'am.
I see that you have projects identified that looks like, based on the arrows, that they will be ending in summer of '25. You have cooling towers, exterior door alarms, HVAC, and controls. Have any of those projects been put on delay due to the tornado or damage? So is this a more current timeline?
Yeah, we made some edits. The slide, if we can go back to that slide, the slide is probably, it captures more edits than what you show on your sheet. But to your question, Chief Johnson, thank you for that. We did pause to assist Chief Watson and his team just to make sure everything was safe and secure, to work with the district. But we have resumed those operations. We've met with the district's insurance provider as of last week to walk the buildings and to make sure that we are in compliance. So we are working not in silos, but we're working in tandem.
So with the identified time delays, I'm assuming, what have the costs been identified? Any additional costs due to those time delays now, since the schedule is being pushed forward?
Yes, actually, we're doing that as we speak. We're putting together costs. We have started budgeting with facilities, but now we've invited fair market pricing from the contractor community to get what it would actually, how close our budget numbers are.
Okay. Can I continue?
Yeah, absolutely.
When I look at the scope of work, I think you explained my first question when I see 571 district-wide whiteboards installation. That's a big bulk of the actual project and cost. Are you saying that every whiteboard had, like behind it was asbestos or lead, or that was the reason for the replacement?
No, not necessarily. We wanted to enhance the learning environment, and so the buildings have been probably below equilibrium. We wanted to at least get it to equilibrium, but eventually we're going to the 21st century. So as a first step, we removed the blackboards and applied whiteboards. However, to do that, in that process, if I understand what you're saying, all of the blackboards, which was installed who knows when, were installed with what we call hockey pucks, which is hazardous material. I mean, the district has an on-call team that has a HERA reports that captures all of the suspect materials. And so in order for us to apply those whiteboards, we had to properly dispose of the abatement and address that before we install the new whiteboards.
So I guess my question is, it was done based on a remediation type project, right? It wasn't based on aesthetics or just upgrading blackboard to whiteboard, because as a district, we want to go to smart boards. So if we spent money just, replacing blackboards to whiteboards, was it just simply to address the hazardous materials that we had to do it based on that, or was it a combination of hazardous versus, well, we're just going to bring it up to a whiteboard level meaning?
Yes, ma'am. I think in keeping with the promises made and promises kept, when the Proposition S bond issue was approved in 2022, one of the categories was academic improvements. And this was something that would apply to that category, that we can do within a quick amount of time. And I think during that process, kind of two birds with one stone. It wasn't intended to be remediation effort first, but to get to the whiteboard level, we had to address that, if I understand or if I'm answering your question correctly. Yes, ma'am.
Couple more questions, if you don't mind. The playgrounds, when we look at 84 benches, are we adding or we were replacing? And if we were replacing, was there a alternate option, meaning could we have refinished the metal benches versus buying new and reinstalling?
We did both.
Okay.
Yep, to be in short. But any new benches we installed, we replaced it with an old bench. But there were some benches that we just said, hey, this is in good working condition, it just needs to be refreshed.
When we talk about the fencing replacement, when I see 20 open schools and we refenced 25 closed schools, can you give me an idea of why we focus on closed schools more than the open?
Yes, ma'am. So at all of the closed schools, there's been a little bit of a history or crime of opportunity for vandalism and transients. And so if you can imagine, the fencing, most of the fencing is perimeter around the schools. We're not talking about those perimeter fencing around the closed schools. We went 5 to 10 feet away from the building and installed a temporary fencing and placed do not enter signage because that gives the district the autonomy to prosecute if you want to, if crimes of opportunity are made at those decommissioned properties.
Okay, so you push the fence in be closer to the building to basically eliminate, we still have the outer perimeter fence?
Correct.
And then we put okay.
Correct.
Makes sense. And one last question, I guess. When I'm looking at your slide that shows your HVAC upgrades, you do have a legend that says work completed and work in progress, but there is nothing checked as work completed, but I think you stated that there were some.
Yeah, I took that slide because that was the first slide with the check marks and just used the legend on that. So going forward, you can see if there's a work. We didn't add a legend to each slide. We just added the legend to the first slide that had the check marks. If that's
Okay.
what.
I think this is a little confusing, so
Understood.
my recommendation, if I'm looking at HVAC upgrades, and I see work completed and work in progress, I understand. So I think what you stated was a little confusing in what I'm seeing here.
Understood.
Okay.
Nope.
And
Received.
one more question about the doors. Are the doors being replaced in terms of, I think you showed some that had glass panel, are those bulletproof panels?
They are anti-terror panels.
What does that mean?
So it prevents anybody from breaching the doors, but ballistics can go through those windows, but you can't breach them. So if they're beating on the window, and safety and security has more details than I do, your safety and security team, but our understanding is it just prevents anybody from getting into the school. They can shoot at the window, they can beat on the window, but they can't get into the school, if that makes sense. So they're anti-terror. There's really, and safety and security will probably tell you this, there's really no quote-unquote a ballistic system. It's just anti-terror is what the industry calls it.
There is an industry where there are some schools that do have bulletproof glass.
Okay.
I'm just curious if we're upgrading, because we all know the incident, if we're updating our exterior doors, right? Mm-hmm. And those doors have glass panels. I'm just going to
Right.
common sense for myself. If it doesn't protect from actual bullets, it just protects from me knocking really hard and cracking it. Mm-hmm. I'm just curious, was it a cost thing, or was it just not a need thing, or is that something more security needs to answer?
Yes, I'm going to defer to safety and security because we met multiple times with them as well as our partners at Cordigan Clark, and this was the product that was recommended for the district. I will tell you, Navigate has installed this product at other K-12 school districts as well, but I will defer to Director Baker and his team.
And that falls under either, what does the doors fall under? Building infrastructure upgrades or interior building enhancements, I guess?
It's a safety and security. So the doors will fall under safety and security.
What falls under interior building enhancement again, just real quickly?
Painting, flooring, and there's pictures that we provided after each slide with the schools that kind of show you the work, but it's more of your interior improvements. Painting the walls, removing the carpet, restrooms, enhancing the interior spaces of the buildings.
So when we're looking at safety and security improvements, that's more stair treads and doors?
Yes,
Okay,
and windows.
and windows?
Yes,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Any more questions for Navigate?
I have a few questions. I have a few questions. Thank you for your presentation. So you said you met with the insurance provider. Was that the insurance provider for the general contractors or the insurance provider for St. Louis Public Schools?
For St. Louis Public Schools. There was a walkthrough, an inspection walkthrough that was held last Tuesday that contractors attended.
Okay, I guess I'm curious about the insurance carriers for the contractors. Was there a meeting with their insurance carriers?
If there was, I'm not aware of it. This was, if I understand you correctly, Dr. Borchade, this was because of the storm damage of May 16th.
Yes.
The district had your insurance provider to come to inspect those schools' locations that were damaged,
Yes, we did.
and we were asked to get contractors to join that walkthrough, along with our partners from Cording and Clark design team.
Got it. St. Louis Public Schools said, Navigate, we want you all to come to this walkthrough.
Navigate, to be clear, Navigate did not attend, but we reached out to all of our constituents in the contractor community and our design teams to make sure they were there.
Okay. Has there been a walkthrough with the general contractors' insurance providers?
Not to my knowledge, not to date.
Okay.
I will verify that and get back with you, but I'm not aware of it.
And I'm asking because St. Louis Public Schools has insurance, right? And then the general contractors should have insurance as well.
Correct.
And so I'm hearing that the general contractors have not had their insurance providers walk the buildings.
No,
Not yet.
ma'am.
Okay.
Not yet.
And then fencing. When we look at the fencing around our closed building, I'm just wondering, is there a standard or quality of fencing that is used?
It's intended to just be a temporary fencing. So if you probably walk those buildings, you probably see that it's a flimsy
Yeah.
fence. It's only made to be temporary, not permanent, and as just a deterrent and a mechanism to give the district the latitude to protect your property, show you're protecting it, and then act on if any vagrants or unwanted trespassers are there.
And how temporary is temporary? Because it seems like it's damaged maybe a few hours, a few weeks after it's been put up.
All of the work, including that, is still under your 1-year warranty, so we still owe you a 11-month walkthrough to address any things that are not to your liking.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, I don't have a page number, but progress photos for Beaumont,
Yes.
roof replacement, we have after, in progress. And so the reason for my question about the general contractor's insurance provider, Beaumont is one of the buildings that had a roof damage.
Yes.
St. Louis Public Schools has insurance, but does the contractor have insurance that walked through and looked through Beaumont?
They
and
do.
all the other ones?
Yes, ma'am. We do have insurance, and we have assessed the work that the contractors have done to make sure that it's, because it's still under warranty.
Yeah.
So we owe you a finished product regardless of if the tornado came or not. So to your question, we will have and continue to have contractors to assess that and make sure that it's what you pay for.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Navigate? I would just like to ask, on the security aspect, I know we getting indoors and all that, but did we maybe looking down the line and maybe putting cameras in certain positions on all our schools?
Absolutely. Central VPA is going to have those cameras within the renovation project that I mentioned, but we're also working with Director Baker and Chief Watson as we speak on looking at a phase 1 access control. There's different phases to the security improvements that you're mentioning by way of cameras and screening and that sort of thing.
Thank you. Any
Yeah.
more questions? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your time, and again, thank you for the opportunity.
I just wanted to give the committee a brief update. Mr. Watson and I met with Ms. Mary Green at Operation Brightside a few weeks ago to talk about a partnership for abating some of our graffiti. They have a limited capacity of what they could do. They only have about 3 people that volunteer, or whatever their roles are there, that can work on graffiti. They can only abate the first level of our buildings, and they only paint. So they have an extremely limited capacity as what they can do, but they are willing to help us. We just have to go back and have a specific need.
Is that what our open and closed schools, or just our open schools?
It's both.
Both. Yeah.
Are there particular schools we would prioritize for that? Like, do we have a list already of?
We don't.
Okay.
We don't right now.
Thank you. Do we have anything else? Anything else?
No.
We are.
Can I make a motion to move into closed session?
Yes, thank you.
I second that.
Thank you. Ms. Vaughn?
Ms. Henry,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Watson,
Yes.
Dr. Borchay,
Yes.
Mr. Marston,
Yes.
Mr. Hikes. We are adjourned to closed session at 3:57.